by virtue of the fact that a Medal of Honor is associated with it. I never thought that this mission, this one mission, would be a part of my life for almost in perpetuity. I mean, it was 50 years ago. Lima Site 85 was an extremely important site. We were bombing at will around the clock in Hanoi during the dry season. Targets were readily available, we could see them, we could bomb at will. During the monsoon season, it was a different story when the weather put Hanoi out of commission, basically, for us for the bombing. And they took the opportunity during the monsoon season to move men, equipment, and materials down the Ho Chi Minh Trail to the war in the south. So they got a free ride for 3 or 4 months, and we could not afford to let them continue to do that. So that was decided in 1968 by the president, and we put about 28 men up there, all volunteers, Chief Etchberger among them. They had to man the site with experienced radar technicians. They went out, it was a top secret site, and the men were only told that it was a highly dangerous, top secret mission that they were volunteering for. They had to sign a secrecy agreement, as did their families. They manned the site starting in November of 1968 and began bombing the targets over Hanoi. Of course, this didn't sit very well with the enemy, as you can imagine. It was obvious that they were going to attack the site at one time, but they thought that they would have adequate time and warning to get the men off of the site. They began building roads from Hanoi out toward the site almost immediately to start moving troops out to surround the site. About 2 months after the site was established and bombing had started, 2 AN-2 Colts, Russian biplanes, flew over the site and dropped mortars through holes in the floor onto the site. They didn't do a lot of damage, but they really made a Air America crew that was on the little runway at the south end of the site mad. They took off, and the flight engineer had an AK-47, and he shot down one of the Colts with an AK-47. This is the only time a helicopter has shot down a fixed-wing aircraft. The other one tried to get away and crashed, and they lost both of the AN-2 Colts. On the night of March the 10th, an artillery and rocket barrage started from the east side of the site, which was rolling terrain out toward Hanoi. We had protection on that side of the site with some Hmong warriors. The west side of the site was a sheer 3,000-foot cliff, and they thought that to be impregnable. Some of the men during the attack, or the rocket attack, had gone down on the side of the cliff. Chief Etchberger and 4 or 5 other men went down on the side of the cliff to take refuge from the attack. About 3 o'clock in the morning, a sapper team of North Vietnamese climbed that sheer cliff, which was thought to be impregnable. They surrounded the buildings on the top of the site, and once they got established, they began to kill the men that were on duty. And they also attacked Chief Etchberger and his men on the side of the cliff from above. When the site came under attack, rescue forces were alerted. We were about 100 miles away in Udon. So we got alerted, scrambled, Russ Kaler and I in Jolly Green 67, and Al Montrim in Jolly Green 69, headed up to the site. When we arrived, the fight was on, and they were throwing hand grenades down onto the men who were kicking them off the side of the cliff. One of the men was blown in half, but Chief Etchberger held them off as they came down the side of the cliff to try to confront them. Chief Etchberger held them off with an M16 while calling for help. Several of the men gathered with him, 3 others, and an Air America helicopter with Ken Wood and Rusty Irons was on scene first. They approached the side of the cliff and picked up Chief Etchberger and 3 of his men. Chief Etchberger assisted his men onto the hoist to get into the helicopter first, and he followed them up. I remember as we approached, some small arms rounds were coming out at us, and Russ Kaler, who was the AC on the flight, he asked one of the Sandys, the A1Es, what do you suggest? And the Sandy said, I suggest you get the hell out of here. As Ken Wood pulled away from the side of the cliff, some armor-piercing rounds came through the floor of his helicopter, and unfortunately Chief Etchberger was hit and died before they could get him to medical assistance. Russ Kaler and I were working a little further down the cliff, and we picked up Jack Starling, one of the other radar technicians. When we went in for the pickup, one of the things that's really vivid in my mind, we were in a hover very close to the side of the cliff. We had put our pararescue man down on the ground, J.J. Rogers. He was holding on to the forest penetrator at the end of the hoist cable, and he lost his M16. It went over the side of the cliff. He was looking for Starling, who had signaled us with a flashlight. He said, "I can't find anybody alive down here." And we said, "Well, get back on board." And just as he was about to get back on the penetrator to come on back up into the Jolly, Starling grabbed him by the ankle. Missions like that and those that follow should impart a feeling of pride among our airmen. We often tell them that they stand on the shoulders of giants. And normally when we say that, most people think, giants like Curtis LeMay and Robin Olds, Paul Tibbets, and people like that. But not all the giants whose shoulders they stand on have stars and eagles. A lot of them have stripes on their shoulders. I'm honored to be a part of the legacy of Lima Site 85, to be a friend of the Etchberger family, and to have played a small role in his father's legacy.